Welcome to CertifAI Innovations News. We're at Anoth Beach. It's Ash here.
And Alex.
And Alex. And today,
We're diving deep.
we're doing a deep dive into something that might
A
sound,
little like sci-fi.
yeah, a little bit like science fiction, but it's becoming reality pretty quickly, and that is the connection between artificial intelligence and
Material science.
material science.
Exactly.
And specifically for you listening today, we're going to explore a really fascinating question. Could AI one day help us?
Create material.
Yeah, create materials that we've only dreamed of, maybe even
Like gold.
like gold, yeah.
Gold.
So Alex,
Right.
I mean, that's a pretty thought-provoking question to start off with.
It is a big one. And while we don't have AI alchemists just yet turning lead into gold,
Right.
the breakthroughs that we are seeing in how AI is being used to design new materials is really kind of stretching the limits of what we thought was possible.
Totally. Now, if you're anything like me, material science might sound a little
Technical.
technical.
Yeah.
Yeah, a little over my head. So let's bring it down to earth with something really amazing. We've been looking at some information about a recent discovery where AI has actually designed a brand new
Nanomaterial.
And this isn't just any nanomaterial. It sounds like a total game changer for how we think about materials in general.
It absolutely is. The source material that we've been looking at really highlights that this is a significant leap.
Uh-huh.
This AI has been used to create a nanomaterial that is lighter than foam.
Okay.
Think of that packing material.
Yeah.
Styrofoam, peanuts, that kind of thing. But incredibly strong, on par with steel, and even 5 times stronger than titanium.
So lighter than foam, but stronger than steel.
Yes.
Okay, now let's unpack this a little bit because the way I understand it, those two things just don't go together, right? If something is super strong, like the steel beams in a skyscraper, it's also super heavy.
Right.
And if it's light, like foam, well, it's not exactly going to protect you from anything.
Yeah, you've hit on a core challenge that material scientists have been wrestling with for years.
Right.
And that's precisely what makes this AI breakthrough so significant. There's always been this inherent trade-off between strength and weight. Strong materials tend to be dense and heavy,
Right.
while lightweight materials often lack the structural integrity you need for, demanding uses.
Okay, so this AI has somehow figured out a way around this fundamental problem. How is that even possible? What's going on at, like, the microscopic level that makes this possible?
Well, it's not magic, but it is incredibly clever. This new material utilizes what's called a
Oh, what?
nanolattice structure.
A nanolattice structure?
Now imagine a microscopic network, like a super intricate three-dimensional scaffolding
Okay.
made of tiny interconnected struts and nodes.
Okay.
It's kind of like, I don't know if you've ever seen those models of molecules.
Yeah, yeah.
They're kind of like that. They're made up of these tiny little rods. And so this design, this nanolattice design, allows the material to handle stress much more effectively than traditional, more solid structures.
So instead of having, like, a solid block of something, it's more like a carefully engineered network that can distribute force coming at it from all different directions.
Exactly.
So kind of like, I'm trying to think of like a good example for our listeners, kind of like the difference between a solid brick wall
Right.
that might crack under pressure and a bridge
Yeah.
that's carefully designed to withstand a ton of weight.
Precisely. That network architecture minimizes any weak points that could lead to the material breaking down.
Right.
And what's really remarkable here is that this wasn't designed just through, human intuition or years of traditional experiments.
Right.
The AI was trained on huge amounts of data about different nanolattice designs,
Yeah.
essentially learning which configurations would give you the best strength-to-weight ratio.
And this is where it gets really interesting for me. The AI didn't just pick and choose from existing designs, right? It actually came up with completely new shapes and arrangements that scientists hadn't even thought of before. That's kind of like, I don't know, giving a chef all these ingredients and having them invent a flavor combination that no one has ever tasted, a totally new creation.
That's a perfect analogy.
Yeah.
By analyzing countless possibilities, the AI could predict and optimize material properties in ways that really do go beyond, I think, what human intuition might suggest.
Right.
It's really this big shift from the traditional trial and error method in material science to a much more data-driven and predictive approach.
So the result of all of this AI-driven design is a material that's 5 times stronger than titanium, but incredibly lightweight.
Yeah.
In fact, the information that we're looking at, it even mentions that if you were to replace some of the titanium parts in an airplane with this stuff, you could save around 80 liters of fuel for every kilogram of weight you save.
Wow.
Every year.
Yeah.
Now, think about the cost of flying these days. That is a huge amount of savings.
It really highlights the potential impact, especially in the aerospace industry, where
Mhm.
every bit of weight matters for fuel efficiency and cost.
Right.
Lighter aircraft would mean significant savings on fuel, fewer emissions, and potentially even longer flight ranges.
But it's not just about airplanes, right? The information we've got here touches on a whole range of potential uses. Everything from like the military to the cars we drive, even to like our smartphones.
Absolutely. I mean,
Mhm.
think about it. In the military and defense sector, this combination of low weight and high strength could really change the game for things like body armor,
Yeah.
making it lighter and more protective. It could also lead to lighter and more agile armored vehicles, which would mean greater safety and maneuverability.
Imagine the implications for something like body armor.
Exactly.
Increased protection without the added weight.
Yeah.
That could be huge for people in dangerous
Well,
situations.
absolutely. And then in the automotive industry, lighter materials mean better fuel efficiency for traditional vehicles and a longer driving range for electric vehicles, which is something a lot of people are considering. Plus, a stronger and lighter vehicle structure could also significantly improve safety in a crash.
Yeah, I mean, and just think about if you've got a smartphone, think about a smartphone that's basically indestructible
Right.
because it's made with this material.
No more cracked screens.
No more cracked screens. I mean, that alone would be a revolution in consumer electronics.
It really would. More durable devices means a longer lifespan for our electronics, and it potentially reduces electronic waste, which is something we all need to be thinking about. The possibilities really do seem almost limitless when you start to think about how this could be applied across so many different areas.
So, okay, we have this amazing AI designed material with all of these amazing potential uses, but the information we've been looking at also brings up some important realities, like some challenges that need to be addressed before we start seeing this stuff everywhere.
That's a crucial point. While the discovery is really groundbreaking, making this widely available means overcoming some significant hurdles. The sources we've looked at highlight things like scalability, cost, and regulatory approvals as some key challenges
So scalability, meaning like, can we actually make enough of this stuff? Right.
to meet the demand.
Yeah.
Because creating a small sample in a lab is one thing, but like
Yeah.
making enough of it to manufacture, airplane wings or millions of smartphones,
Right.
that's a whole different thing.
Exactly. The current method involves 3D printing at the microscopic scale, which is really precise, but also very time-consuming
Right.
and potentially expensive.
Yeah.
So developing faster and more cost-effective ways to manufacture this material is going to be really essential for it to be, truly viable.
And cost is always a factor, right? I mean, new advanced materials, they tend to be pretty expensive when they're first developed.
Yeah.
We saw that with carbon fiber.
Right.
Hopefully, as the production methods get more refined, the cost will come down and it will become more accessible.
Yeah, I mean, history does suggest that, as we figure out better ways to make things, produce them in larger quantities, the cost of these advanced materials does tend to decrease.
Yeah.
But that initial investment and the learning curve involved in setting up these new manufacturing processes can be pretty significant barriers to overcome. And then you also have, of course, the regulatory side of things, right? Especially in industries like aerospace, automotive, and the military, where safety is paramount.
Yeah.
Getting a new material approved for use in a plane or a car, that involves a ton of testing
Right.
and making sure that it's safe and reliable. And that can take a really long time.
Absolutely. Those industries have very strict regulations and performance standards in place. New materials have to undergo rigorous testing to make sure that they can handle real-world conditions
Right.
and that they won't compromise safety at all. This process is vital, but it can mean that it takes longer for these new technologies to be adopted.
Okay, so lots of exciting possibilities, but some real-world hurdles to overcome before we see this stuff in action. Now let's go back to that initial question that we posed. Could AI one day create materials like gold? The information we've been looking at doesn't directly talk about creating specific elements.
Right.
But given what we've learned about AI's ability to design materials with these amazing properties, what are your thoughts on that, like for the future?
That's a really interesting thought. And while actually creating elements like gold involves nuclear processes.
Right.
Rather than just rearranging atoms within a material,
Right.
this AI breakthrough does kind of make you wonder about the future of how we might be able to manipulate matter at a much deeper level.
Yeah.
If AI can design nanostructures with such incredible properties, could it eventually help us understand and control matter at a very fundamental level in ways that we haven't even thought of?
Right.
It opens up the possibility of engineering materials with properties we can't even imagine right now.
Yeah, it's like this discovery has unlocked a door to a whole new world of possibilities. I mean, AI isn't just helping us make existing materials a little bit better. It's showing us how to design completely new ones with properties that are specifically tailored for different uses.
Exactly.
Yeah.
This AI-driven approach really signals a shift in how we think about material science. We're moving away from relying on human intuition and trial and
Oh,
error,
see.
and moving toward a much more data-driven and predictive way of discovering new materials. And, who knows? This could even lead to materials with, like, self-healing abilities or components that are designed to withstand the extreme conditions of space,
Yeah.
which could have huge implications for future technologies.
Self-healing materials, components for extreme environments.
Yeah.
It definitely sounds like we're on the verge of something truly revolutionary. I mean, this deep dive has certainly given me a lot to think about.
Me too. The key takeaway, I think, is just the incredible ability of AI to explore these tiny nanolattice structures in ways that we, as humans, hadn't even conceived of.
Right.
And that has led to this nanomaterial with just unprecedented strength-to-weight properties.
Right.
And its potential impact across all these different fields, aerospace, automotive, military, and consumer electronics, it's huge.
Mm.
And while there are challenges to making it widely available and affordable, I think the future of material science looks incredibly bright.
So while AI might not be turning lead into gold just yet, its ability to design materials with these amazing properties makes you wonder what the future holds.
It really does.
Could this pave the way for us to manipulate matter in ways we haven't even thought of yet?
I think so. This AI-driven approach really signifies a major shift, leading to a future with materials that we can only dream of today.
Well, this has been a really fascinating deep dive into the world of AI and material science. Thanks for joining me, Alex.
Well, my pleasure.
And thanks to all of you for tuning in.
Thanks for listening.
We'll see you with more CertifAI news next week. Bye.